There's only one thing in the world that's worse than being talked about. It's not being talked about. On today's episode, we're going to share tips with you to help you manage media coverage for your small business in 2022. So, Chief, you gave the example of BK Reader. Would you like to share with the folks out in Commerce and Chill Land how that came to be?
So it was pretty unique because right now I have like a whole press release put together about this campaign that we're doing. You said a good one.
Yeah.
What, the campaign?
The press release.
Yeah. Oh, the press release. Yeah. To send out, and we're doing some stuff on social. We dropped a couple pieces already. Shout out to audio engineer / content creator Espinoza. Created some content already. Check it out on Soapbox and on my LinkedIn. Follow me. To kind of kick it off. And we had the press release and we didn't send it out yet. But part of it is we want the public to know, and who better to know than the individuals who are in the community who go past the store or who visit the store. So we have a sign inside the store that's been there for a while. We had a sign hanging outside, but the weather kind of wore it out. So we had a new one made and we put it in a frame and everything so it's protective and it stands out.
And put your picture on it.
Yeah. It's got my picture on it.
Because
I think that increased the ROI tremendously.
With people, right? It's one thing to say the Soapbox. It's another thing to say Waleed from the Soapbox and with the logo. It's another thing to say Waleed from the Soapbox with his picture. Because now people walking by and they're like, hey, wait, you're that guy on the sign.
Or they just see a person attached to it. So it's just not like just a sign there and they're just like this business or this brand. They see there's someone attached to it. And whatever the terms are, I don't know, or whatever the psychological studies in sales and marketing, I have no clue what it's called. But I feel personally they make they make a better connection with it. Mm-hmm. So we did that based on a suggestion from my man Dave out in Wichita. So we did that. We put the new sign outside in a frame, in a stand, and Jesse happened to be walking by, saw it, shot me an email and was like, would love to do a story on it. Was like, cool. But rewind some, we have a prior history relationship with Jesse because she had done this extensive article that we had put out on social. Mm-hmm. BK Reader posted on Cheryl 630 Sneaker Cleaning and how the Soapbox Cheryl 630 Sneaker Cleaning all came to be working together, and the story behind Cheryl starting the business and then our partnership. So there was a history already. There was a connection, and Jesse saw the sign, reached out to us, and then did the piece, dropped it, and it's been been received very warmly throughout the community, online. People are sharing it on their social media. They'll walk by, see the sign, take a picture, put it in their social, forwarding it to people they know. So I think it's awesome, mm-hmm. but I think it's about having a relationship because I believe if we didn't have if Jesse would have done the interview, and I'm going out on a limb here, but if Jesse would have done the interview with Cheryl and didn't have a good experience with us or enjoyed it, or whatever term we want to use, and then she saw the free dry cleaning if you're unemployed, she'd be like, that would be an interesting story for me to write about, because clearly writing is her passion and it's a job. Mm-hmm. So you need to meet whatever your KPIs are at work. So I'm sure she has to write so many pieces for her job. She's like, that would be a great piece. But if she didn't have a good experience with us when she did the interview with Cheryl, or when she came to the Soapbox and met everybody, and the time she spent there doing that piece, she probably would have been like, it's a cool story, but the people aren't that cool, or I just don't feel good rocking with them to do this next piece.
Right.
So that was super, to me, I think that's the important part, that relationship that you build, the connection, where it's just, they don't feel like, oh, it's just a one-off thing. You just using me to get your shine. You just using me to get more eyeballs on your that thing.
We've had a similar situation here at Johnson Security with Crane's New York business. You'll hear me say from time to time that Crane's New York business is one of my favorite business publications. And not just because we've been in it, but because I love the information that they share. It gives me ideas about how to look for new business opportunities. It also gives me ideas as to how we can improve our operations.
It's also one of my favorite mother-in-law's favorite section, Who Owns the Block,
that talks about real estate ownership here in New York.
Who owns the block?
Yeah. Well put together piece of journalism. But a few years ago, they did a piece on Johnson Security, and we were introduced to the editor at the time, and just stayed in touch with her through the years. They did a print piece, and then they also had a show on New York City Public Access, the New York City channel, not WNYC, but NYC TV, called, what's it, Crane's New York Stories? So they feature.
Oh yeah. They
feature Johnson Security.
But I don't think they do that anymore, do they?
They don't record any new episodes.
They just replay the archives.
But they also did a piece on Johnson Security on one of their episodes of Crane's New York Stories. That's far greater reach than we could have achieved on our own. And guess what? It was free $99. Fast forward, we keep in touch with the people at Crane's. Someone nominated us for Family Business of the Year one year. So we were included as recognized as one of their awardees. And as they do events, they invite us to attend the events. And from time to time, they'll ask us to speak on panels. So it's all started from one story, but we had the relationship, and the relationship continued. I think they even may have cited some research that I was involved with for 10,000 Small Business Voices. Was it 2 weeks ago? Crane's New York Business repurposed some of that content on their website. So they have several different properties, several different media entities under their umbrella. The relationship helped us get a foot in the door, but it's what keeps them coming back to us for new content. So who in your local community can you connect with that has a media outlet, whether it's a newspaper, whether it's a website?
Start local.
Whether it's a public access cable.
Shout out to Brick and BronxNet. But start local. Look at, I would encourage, just go Google local blogs, and whatever your neighborhood is, Park Slope blogs, Crown Heights blogs, right? Or Crown Heights Press, and just see what comes up, and then reach out to them. The amount of content that is consumed today by people on whatever hourly or minute basis, whatever, is astronomical. So these outlets, as you mentioned earlier, they're looking for more information to keep feeding the machine. And if you have something that is of quality, that speaks to something, and connect with, just reach out to them, because I'm about to go off on a tangent, but Google it, reel me back in, Google it, look and see who's in there, and just start reaching out to them. Not even when you need something, just reach out to them now and just be like, hey, what type of stories do you typically write about? Or what kind of content are you looking for? And build that relationship with them. I have a local business in the neighborhood, or I'm on the local Chamber of Commerce here, I'm on the community board, and we deal with a variety of things, and wondering if what kind of information you would be looking for as you create your content or you write these stories, whatever type of outlet it is, and then become almost their plug. Mm-hmm. You feed them stuff. Oh, you know about this community event, or do you know that they're opening up? True. These people came before the community board, made an announcement. They're opening up a new restaurant. That might be a cool piece for you.
And people always come to us and ask us if we know about any businesses that they should know, if we know any people, business owners they should know, if we know of any events. I want to do a story. So, like you said, be a plug. Before we give you the 8 tips, I want you to grab paper,
suggestions, tips,
get your favorite note-taking app, whatever it is that you're going to take, so that you can remember, because the 8 tips are coming. I want to give a shout out to Dawn Kelly and the family at the Nourish Spot. Dawn and her family are feeding South Jamaica with healthy foods, smoothies, lots of good stuff. At the same time, they're putting local young people to work. And this is all on the heels of Dawn having a successful communications career at a Fortune 500 company. If you ever are looking for ideas on how you can increase your media engagement with your company or brand, look at what Dawn's doing. If you bold, reach out to Dawn and hook up with her and see if she'll give you some tips. Because we're about to give you the 8 tips on how to handle media coverage for your business. Ocho. You ready? You ready?
Suggestions.
You ready? Let's go. Number 1, build rapport with journalists long before you need them.
I just said that for like 10, 15 minutes.
You did, but you didn't say long before you need them part.
Okay.
Number 2, personalize your media pitch because there's no one size fits all. Number 3, pitch journalists rather than publications.
Okay. Go to the individual versus the general email that says
Inc.com.
Right.
Number 4, target freelance reporters.
Freelance.
Number 5, digitize your press releases.
Digitize them? How else they going to send them? They going to mail it to them? They gonna,
well, sometimes people still faxing. No disrespect.
Faxing isn't that a form of digital?
It depends.
Because when you send it,
it depends.
It's being changed into a signal, and then when it comes out the other end, it is on paper.
It depends. I know that Tina Wynn, shout out to the Brown Wynn agency. Tina Wynn, when she first started TNT Public Relations, she kept that fax machine hot like fire. She was always sending out press releases about her clients. And she even kept doing that when she went to her Def Jam days. Shout out to the people at Def Jam and Rush Artist Management.
Back to the list.
Number 6, provide background information and visuals to reporters. Like you're on the internet and you see those, infographics? Throw some infographics in your press release. There's a lot, you can say a lot more with a picture than you can with words. Number 7, offer product samples. And number 8, produce the content you want the media to pick up. So let's take one step back, right? The reason we even started talking about this topic the other day was because our friends, can we say their name or do we have to wait?
Nah, sure.
So we have friends that have another business and what happened? You laughing at him or you laughing at me? You laughing at both of us. Okay. Look, no games, no gimmicks, no tricks.
Nah, chill, 'cause I don't want to get caught up in it.
No. So we have
spoiler alert.
We have a lot of entrepreneur friends, and we'll bounce ideas off of one another.
I won't be able to get any food then later on. I'll be on the no-buy list.
Okay. And so the one particular set of friends who are a couple, they had reached out to us because they have this great opportunity before them. And they wanted to know what we suggested that they do. Like, how did they pose a question to you?
It was just like wanting to get your thoughts. They're not going to be. They already were. They filmed a TV show. And they want to prepare the business for what the results I'm going to say could be, but we know will be based on being on this show that airs. It's a specialty channel that focuses on the type of business that they do. And it airs, all over the United States. And their business is local, but they have a shipping component to their business. So they want to prepare for the influx of inquiries, clients, and new business before the show airs, which is very soon.
Okay. So some of the tips that Waleed shared with them were very media centric, very media driven, because the platform that they're going to have, they just want to be able to maximize the potential outcome for themselves personally as well as for the business. So that's what prompted our conversation around media coverage for your business and these tips. So build rapport with journalists long before you need them. Some people wait till they have a product launch. Some people wait till they down to their last $2 and need that one new customer to keep them in business before they reach out to the media,
right?
Which doesn't make sense. You want to engage them long before you need them. Like, when's the best time to have an emergency plan? When it's not an emergency. Same thing with your media relations. You want to make sure that you're building relationships with different outlets and different journalists before it is necessary.
I don't get creative. Like if you maybe have a food or a product business, or maybe a service business, offer you send them free samples, like with no strings attached. Just be like, hey, neighbor, your publication or your freelance writer, you live in our neighborhood and we're sending things out to people. And I wouldn't even associate it to your writer business. Like, well, I just like, hey, here's some, try our product. Like we're giving it to people in businesses and people in the neighborhood. Like try it out, or send them things, other stories about stuff in the neighborhood, not just your stuff. Like build, before you even do it, you're saying plan it ahead of time. Send them things ahead of time to build that relationship. Like, but it be genuine, like things you do. So if you serve like on a community board, you serve on a non-for-profit, hey, we're doing this cool thing, wanted to share it with you. And then you've built that relationship. And then down the road, you can be like, hey, I'm launching this new product, or I'm starting a business. Would that be something you'd be interested in writing a story about, or, doing a piece about, or what, whatever their thing is?
Yeah. Number 2, personalize your media pitch. This is no different than when you go to apply for a job. You don't write a blanket cover letter to whom it may concern. I really want to work for your company. No.
Oops.
Get personal. It's the same way that if you were submitting a proposal to a prospective client, you wouldn't say, "Dear John Doe, I want to work with your company." You would say,
to whom it may concern.
"Dear Michael Smith with the Smith Agency, I want to work with your company providing laundry services because blah, blah, blah. This is what we know about your company. This is what we know about what we do. And this is how it works together."
Right. So that you personalize it by saying, hey, I noticed you write a small business section. I know of a few small businesses, or my small business, etc. Oh, I noticed you write a food and produce section. Well, my business is going to be giving away, free
rubber bands, broccoli
right,
rubber bands.
Broccoli rubber bands next week from 3 to 8 for you to be able to wrap up anything you need a rubber band around. But our business is giving away free grocery baskets, like vegetable baskets for people the week of, I don't know, fall harvest. I don't know, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. Like, just drill down.
Indeed. And if you're sending that information by email, make sure you personalize the email as well. It only takes a little bit more time to find out who the right person is.
Yeah, get the names. Get a name. You want to send a whole bunch? There's this thing called mail merge, people. And you can do it with email. You can even do it in Gmail now.
Just make sure you mail merge right.
You mail merge and you put their name in it. You don't want it to say
"Dear anybody."
Or you just don't want it to say "Dear" and then it has the brackets, first name, because you didn't merge it right. I've gotten a few of those. But yeah, personalize it. It makes a big difference.
Number 3, pitch journalists rather than publications. So in my experience, what I see is that people always want to go for the really large publications. They want to go NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, the news director. They want to go to the New York Times, Wall Street Journal. No, find a person. Like Waleed said, or like we said earlier, like when you put up the poster board, the sandwich board with your picture, and people were able to connect.
Somebody sent an email to the Soapbox's email, but they were like Waleed because my name was on it. Listen, when you read these different publications, 9 out of 10 times the person who wrote the piece, their name is there. Look that person up and send a message directly to them. And you talk about personalizing or not personalizing. You talk about building a rapport with them. You could start simply by there's some literature, whatever that you read or you consume, and you just send a message and be like, you know what, 2 weeks ago I read this piece you did on how McDonald's puts 199 seeds on their buns, and I thought that was super interesting. Thanks. And then they're like, that's genuine. You just telling them you did a great piece. I got value from it. End of story. Mm-hmm. You've just made a connection with them.
Right, and don't miss the sub point in that. Don't just send it to a media outlet, send it to a person. Don't just target the large media outlets.
Go for
local.
Look
at the smaller ones, because sometimes the smaller ones use syndicated information. So example, NNPA stands for the National Newspaper Association. That's the Black-owned newspaper organization. And they will often buy syndicated information. So if, for example, Nasenga Burton, shout out to my soror and Northwestern friend, she has the Burton Report, where she writes about different cultural.
Wait, what's her name again?
Nasenga.
Oh.
We called her something different in school, but she
now it's not the time.
Actually, it's Dr. Nasenga Burton.
Put some respect on that.
Put some respect on that PhD. And so she's affiliated with NNPA. So in addition to the information that she publishes on her website and her blog, that information is repurposed by other NNPA member publications. So you can also get success and more bang for your buck if you start with some of the smaller and local publications as opposed to waiting for the big ones. Number 4, target freelance reporters. Freelancers can work with multiple outlets.
Right. So they can get it on multiple places, or let me stick with that. I'm not going to say or.
Many times you'll have freelancers that will just focus on one specific area. So if small
like
business
Jessie
is
only
your
does
thing,
certain neighborhoods. She does, I think, Bedford-Stuyvesant. I don't know if she does any other neighborhood, because the pieces I saw she wrote were in Bed-Stuy. So they might be specific to your area, your business type, or category, etc. So drill down. Like, again, I said drill down.
Think of the freelancers as the free agents. Like, the freelancers are hustling to get their work published. And so if you give them good content, they'll be working on your behalf to get your story out. So and
they'll come back to you for more.
To work with freelance reporters. Number 5, digitize. Lunchtime. Digitize your press releases.
So email it out, put it on social, right? And put some imagery with it. Don't just be the one that just send out a piece of paper with a bunch of words on it. Send them some imagery with it. That way they can use that in the piece. They might contact you to ask for some additional, but if you include some imagery with it, you just made it that much you created less friction. You give them the overview, you're like, oh, this is what it's about in the press release, and then you give them some imagery to go with it. They might not even have to contact you. They might just email you back to be like, thanks, and then the next email you get from them, or the next email you get an email from them saying, thanks so much, please see the link here, we did a story on it. Or they call you and be like, listen, we just want to take a picture of you in front of your shop, or we want to interview you on location because we want to do a video, not just a written piece too. So include some collateral with it. And when I say collateral, images or video that relate directly to what your press release is about. And make it easy for them.
That's not only going to grab the attention of the people who are placing the stories, but that will also more likely to grab the attention of the reader, whomever's going to consume the information. And I'll give you a perfect example. Essence Magazine, shout out to Wanga Woman. Their most recent cover is of Method Man from the Wu-Tang. And
it's all video.
Yeah, like if you go on Twitter, if you
go
on
IG,
it
was so slick.
And Essence and Ebony is doing the same thing.
It looked like if you ever remember back in the day, Back to the Future movie, when he went to the future and he was walking by the newsstand and there was a magazine, same thing in Minority Report. They had the magazine or the newspaper, but the magazine newspaper was digital. So it was video, but the headlines and everything stayed static, but there was images and moving on it. And they did it just like that. The title was all static and you can see everything moving behind that. It was slick.
So how do you incorporate different media elements into your press release, into the information that you're sharing to catch people's attention and make them want to share it?
Break away from traditional.
Number 6, provide background information and visuals. So we drill down on the visuals, but the background information, you want to give context.
The why.
You want to give numbers.
On? Who, when, where, what. Back in grade school, 5 W's. Public school teachers back in the house.
B-roll if you can. That makes it easier for the reporter to write an article about your business. So yes, sometimes people are going to be lazy and they're just going to take verbatim what you said. But then there are going to be other people that are like, no, I went to journalism school. I want to do this the right way. Like, give me the sources. Like, what is the industry, the main industry organization? What is the industry document? And make sure you provide that information so that the writer can avail themselves of all the background. And so it makes whatever they put out about you more complete, because you don't want people spreading information about your business, your brand, you, if it's not complete and accurate.
Agree.
You already talked about this. Number 7, offer product samples, especially if you're like in the food business or if you have a retail ready product. Samples will kill them.
So you should
every
be
time.
In those cases. You can't digitize that press release, right? You could. I would. If this was me. If I had some kind of food business or something that's tangible, I would put that product, if possible, in some kind of packaging with the literature of the press release and I would put the literature underneath it. So the first thing they see is a product, the food or whatever it is, and then that gets their attention and gets them in. And then as they get to the bottom, it's like, oh, here's this paper. Oh, let me check that out. Well, I got crumbs all over my face, so I'm licking my fingers because it was so good. And they're like, oh, this new bakery that opened up, or blah, blah, blah. And then I would follow up after that, because there's this thing when you mail packages called tracking numbers, and you can get alerts to say when it was delivered. So I would kind of time when that thing gets delivered, and then I would drop my digital press release on them, so they'll get an email, they'll get this. So then that comes right behind them sampling the product. Hopefully your product is good, so when they sample it, they're like, why the hell you emailing me? Because the thing tastes like trash.
Keep in mind, everyone likes free stuff.
Everybody.
Many professionals are also ethically bound. So reporters and journalists cannot accept gifts from sources. They can, however, receive product samples if they're going to do a review.
Right.
So if you're looking for them to do a review, that's one thing.
There's a product, and here's the information, the press release and all that behind it. I'm not sending it to you to entice you to do a story about me. I'm sending it to you because you're going to be writing a story about my bakery, and I'm sending you some of the baked goods so you can have a firsthand experience. Like my man from New York One, Phil, when he did the Sophia and Grace interview, he ate the cookie at the end, and he was like, it's good, or whatever he said, but he ate the cookie. So like he can speak to it because he's actually sampled it. He's actually tasted. Send them products, please.
And number 8.
I might become a reporter so people can send me free products.
You don't need no more free.
I'll be a freelancer.
Okay. Number 8, produce the content you want the media to pick up. So, we talked about like the Essence and the Ebony's, what they're putting out with combining different types of media. I know if you like some of us at the table, creating content might not be your thing.
Sorry.
If that's you, get somebody on your team. You can go to Fiverr, get somebody to make you content.
Fiverr.
You
What's
can
up,
go to local high schools, local colleges, and get people to work with
Fiverr
you
profile
on a project basis.
I mean, his Twitter profile.
To help you create that content.
Video
but make sure
God.
that you have clean, good, crisp content. And then when somebody posts it out, make sure that you repurpose it across your social media, that you put it in your company blog or newsletter.
Share what they put up about you. Don't make it
LinkedIn,
just one way.
Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Make sure that you're putting it out there, and don't forget to say thank you. And you were having a conversation with somebody the other day. Oh, you were in the class and they were talking about handwritten notes. Even though people work in the media, they're still people. And some of them have home training, and some of them still open their mail. Send a handwritten thank you note when it's all done.
And listen, if you don't have time to do it, there are plenty of companies, Google it. There are plenty of companies that you can go pay like $3, $4, and you type in what you want. They will write it for you and mail it to the person.
In closing today's episode, I want to leave a quote from great playwright Oscar Wilde, who said, "There's only one thing in the world that's worse than being talked about. It's not being talked about." So leverage media coverage for your small business to benefit and help you grow in 2022. And you can use these 8 tips that we just shared with you to do that.